I'm sorry, so perception then, so we're just labeling with perception. We're saying what things are, statue, fan, and so on. But then there's volition. Volition, this is how we respond to what we encounter. So I see the statues and I say, I like those or I don't. So I see something beautiful and I think, oh, that's beautiful, and then it's, I want more. Oh, I wish I could stay here and look at this forever. Or I see something and I'm bored by it, I don't really have a reaction, and so I start, my volition there is, well, what's something interesting? That's my response to something neutral maybe. What can I grasp? So that's volition. So the example that I use here to explain how all of this works together is that, let's say I smell something bad, and I'm like, oof, that sensation. It's my initial, ugh. And then I go, my perception says, oh, that's spoiled milk. Then my volition is, who's the idiot who left out the milk? It stunk up the room, the window's stuck, I can't open it. Now I have to throw it away, what a waste. That's volition. Now I have to buy more milk, whatever. We're doing this constantly. And we think this is all one thing because it happens so quickly, usually. Usually. Every now and then, we probably all have this experience. Every now and then, maybe you're half asleep, or you're lying down in a sort of at an odd angle or something. So you're seeing something at an odd angle. Or maybe you just wake up and you open your eyes and you're staring at something, and there's this moment of blankness. And then you're like, what am I looking at? Oh, it's a chair. Have you ever done that? Yeah. There you can see the gap between it hitting your sense consciousness. It goes through your eyes and the information hits your brain, and then there's this gap before perception comes in. Okay? But usually it happens so fast that we think it's all one thing. It's the milk is smelled and we go, oh, spoiled milk. Bleh. Who's the idiot who left it out? But these are actually different parts of what makes us up. So then, as I said, when we pass away, this strips away. If you don't have form, you don't have eyes, ears, nose, a mouth. So there's no real sight, smell, sound, taste, touch. All of that's gone. And then volition and perception and all of that are stripped away as well. So what passes on to the next life is, again, the consciousness with the impression of our karma, the seeds of our karma. When I'm saying seeds of karma, we're not talking about some physical thing like seeds that you put in the ground. We don't mean that. It's just a word that we use to describe this sort of impression on the mind. That's what passes from lifetime to lifetime. So again, I know that this is a little bit dry. This isn't the most exciting subject in the Dharma. But if we really think about it, it's extremely useful. If we can understand this and remind ourselves of it regularly, we become accustomed to the truth that we ourselves are impermanent. And then we can start to let go of our attachment to the body, so that when it's our time to pass away, we won't be clinging. We won't be clinging to what we can't hold on to, and we will suffer so much less. Where was I recently? Was it something I was reading or something I saw or heard? I can't remember where I came across this, but it was just recently. It was a talk. There's a Buddhist nun who is working as a chaplain here locally in the Los Angeles area. for a hospital, but she doesn't work in the hospital. She goes to home. So basically, people who they think less than 6 months to live, she goes and visits with them. And she was talking about one woman who was quite old. She was laying in bed, dying. In fact, they had told her for years that she was going to die, and she only had 6 months to live, but she kept hanging on, and the nurses didn't know why she was still alive. So the chaplain, this Buddhist chaplain, went to see her, and she found out that the woman first had kicked her son out into the garage, made him live in the garage, and then she completely kicked him out of the house. And she wondered, well, what's going on there? And so she spoke to this woman, and she was lying there, and what this woman said to the chaplain was, "It's mine. It's all mine." She was clinging to her stuff, probably to her body as well. She wouldn't let go because she was so attached to this stuff. And imagine how much suffering that woman was in, let alone the suffering that she caused for the people around her. But then there was another woman who was dying, and she went to visit the home. And this woman had been an artist, and she had traveled. She had lived a full life. And so she went in to see her, and the gist of the conversation was, so how are you doing? And this woman's response to her own death was, "I'm on to my next adventure." Now, of course, as a Buddhist, we're not looking for the next adventure. We're looking to get out of the cycle of birth, old age, sickness, and death, and become a perfectly enlightened Buddha so that we can benefit others. But she had really a much healthier attitude, right? She knew she was dying, and she was ready to let go. She accepted it. So this teaching on the 5 skandhas can be a tool that we can use. As we absorb it, as we come to really see it, it's a tool that we use to overcome our attachment so that we will suffer less and probably cause a great deal less suffering to others as well. And that is the 5 skandhas. So are there any questions or thoughts? Yes?
We're here talking about consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
That means, from this slide to the next slide,
Mm-hmm.
mostly consciousness. But the Buddha teaching about it, not the wisdom. So the consciousness and the wisdom, what is from consciousness to wisdom?
From consciousness to wisdom. I'm not quite sure what you're getting at. Well, in terms of death, passing from lifetime to lifetime, wisdom is part of what we can imprint upon our mind. And so the quality of our mind, whether it has a tendency towards compassion, a tendency towards anger, that goes with us from lifetime to lifetime. Is that what you're getting at? Or do you mean the transition from our normal ignorant consciousness to wisdom?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it certainly isn't about gaining something. I think sometimes we think about gaining wisdom with age. We say that in English. People gain wisdom with age. It isn't really about gaining something. What we're doing in our Buddhist practice and training is, like using tools like the 5 skandhas, we are creating more and more skillful perceptions. Even if the new perception that we have isn't perfectly correct, we're cultivating more and more skillful perceptions, and we're letting go of wrong views. We're letting go of ignorance. And then the natural wisdom within us, the Buddha nature, that comes through. Does that make sense? Does that answer? Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question. Yes?
Does the Abhidharma deal in more detail with subjects like the 5 skandhas?
Yes.
Is there an English version of Abhidharma?
Well, there's more than one Abhidharma. I'm fairly certain that the Pali Abhidharma has been translated into English. The Abhidharma, it's very complicated. It delves into a lot of definitions. So it takes one word from a sutra and it will pick it apart and define it and all of that. It can be pretty complicated. But if you're interested in more of these kinds of details, then yes, I would look at the Abhidharma. Yeah. But the Pali one has been translated. There's a different one that's used in East Asian Buddhism, which comes from the Chinese tradition. I don't think that that's been translated into English yet. Yes?
So I watched the Born to Rage last week. It was very interesting. And I was quite surprised, but as a result that 3 of the monks carry that short version of gene. And so what I try to understand in terms of Buddhism, that there's certain things that you can change or you can choose, like your parents, but also but it depends on how the environment that you've grown up, whether or not you have a nice family or you grow up in around with gangsters, and you tend to become more like hang around with bad people and getting yourself in trouble. It just doesn't get clear in my mind that, and you mentioned a couple weeks ago, that's the habit or the behaviors that carry from lifetime to lifetime. So how much of something that what makes us become us, part of is something to reset, that you are born or you were born in a certain family, but what makes us as become behaviors or personality, does that relate to the actions or the karma that you collect from your past life, or more depend on how you got raised, raised you, and the environment that you live with?